so glad that all of you have come to hear the testimony of Charmaine, and I want to welcome each of you here this afternoon. Just to give you a little bit of background of her, she has an extensive background in health, is a certified massage practitioner, but her real passion is in raw foods, which has led her to pursue hands-on training at the Living Light Culinary Arts Institute, the world's premier organic raw vegan chef training school, where she graduated as an associate chef and instructor. She enjoys creating living brushstrokes of flavor in the kitchen and is the author and creator of the Eat More Rainbows program for children that help them build confidence with plant-based culinary skills and healthy choices. She is currently completing a PhD in health education and promotion. And we are so pleased that Charmaine is here. I know that she has many wonderful things to share, and you're going to be blessed. So please pay attention. I'll turn the time over to her. Thank you, Charmaine. And we'll just have a quick word of prayer as we get started. Father in heaven, thank you for bringing us here. I know that you want to use Charmaine this afternoon. I pray that we are attentive and that we are willing to hear what you have done through her. Bless her now. May your spirit rest upon us. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, am I turned on? I am. Thank you, Mark. And thank you, Justin. I just want to thank you all for having me here at your beautiful church and welcoming me into your church family. And to Lorinda, and just your kindness. I really appreciate it. I'd like to share with you some of my testimony. I won't be sharing everything today because it's a little in-depth, especially when you get to the emotional part. As I mentioned a couple weeks ago, 9/10 of all disease, Sister White says, begins in the mind. And so at the time I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, there was a lot of things emotionally that were going on in my life that had led up to that point. And so I needed to change a lot of things in my life at that time and to remove toxic people out of my life in order that God could start the healing journey for me. At the time I was diagnosed about 14 years ago, I was working as a personal trainer as one of my many jobs. And you know what they tell you? You need a gram of protein per pound body weight, that myth, that excessive protein diet. And so I was consuming a lot of protein. And basically I found out I was just fertilizing my cancer cells. I went to the doctor for what I thought I was mastitis. And that's what they diagnosed it as, and they gave me a series of antibiotics. And in about 10 days, I was still having problems. And that's when I went in for a mammogram, and then they saw the calcification. And I remember at the time when I got a call that I had breast cancer, and it was very, very frightening for me. I had 4 kids at the time, a single parent, and I really took it as a death warrant. When they said stage 4, stage 3, and they recommended that I do a modified radical mastectomy of my right breast, which I did undergo, and they wanted to do more treatment, and such as chemo and radiation. And at that point, I knew that I couldn't possibly do that because my kids depended on me, and I did not have time to be ill. And those treatments often make you sick. And now that I've evolved to where I am nutritionally, I'm really glad I didn't go that route because it really suppresses your immune system. And praise God, I'm still here. I just believe it's by the grace of God ultimately. He gives us these things for healing, but it really is His power and grace. So today I just wanted to focus on some of the things in our society that contribute to the disease processes and what we can do preventatively to help. So I call this presentation The High Price of Western Lifestyle. So let me get started here. When you think of cancer, it's kind of like the leprosy of today, and I'm sure many of you know people in your life right now that have had cancer or maybe even dying of cancer. I know some of you have come to me already telling me that so-and-so has cancer. Can you call this person? And it's a very feared disease. We look at our Western lifestyles that are contributing to so much morbidity in our society today. We look at over 1 million cases of cancer were diagnosed in the US this year. And look at that, nearly 600,000 people will die from the disease. Heart disease is still the leading cause of death among men and women. About 610,000 Americans die from heart disease each year, and that's about 1 in 4. 48% of persons took at least one prescription drug in the past 30 days. And believe it or not, we're seeing our children. Our children are taking more and more prescription medications. More than 2/3 of adults are considered to be overweight or obese. More than 1/3 of adults are considered to be obese, and 75 million Americans have high blood pressure. That's 1 in every 3 adults. Over 100 million Americans have chronic pain, costing society at least $560 to $635 billion annually. And over 37 million people suffer from migraines. 29 million people in the US have diabetes. I want to tell you about something that really affected my journey in understanding the diet and disease relationship, and that is this phenomenal book. How many of you have heard of the China study? You read this? When I came across this really solidified in my brain the journey I needed to take. Dr. T. Colin Campbell, he's a nutritional biochemist, epidemiologist. He's an adjunct professor at Cornell University. And his study is dealing with a Chinese population cohort in which he looked at 65 counties, 130 villages, and 6,500 adults. And during this time that he collected the data, he looked at blood samples, urine samples, and food samples of the people. And interestingly, from this study, many things came out of it. They call this the Grand Prix of epidemiology, and that is because so many benefits have come out of it as far as statistically significant associations between lifestyle, diet, and disease variables. What he did find, predominantly, that in America, 15 to 16% of our total calories comes from protein, and upwards 80% of this amount comes from animal-based foods. Are you surprised? Me neither. But in rural China, only 9 to 10% of total calories comes from protein, and only 10% of the protein comes from animal-based foods. They also associated that as blood cholesterol levels decreased from 170 milligrams to 90, cancers of the liver, colon, lung, breast, brain, stomach, esophagus, and leukemia decreased. Some of the findings, as I said, flip back there. Some of the findings, as I said, that there was a major difference in the animal protein intake. Basically, we Americans eat 10 times more animal protein than China. And this is one of his profound statements from the study. The main nutritional conclusion from this study is the finding that the greater the consumption of a variety of good quality plant-based foods, the lower the risk of those diseases which are commonly found in Western countries: cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes. Based on these and other data, and this is shocking, 80 to 90% of all such diseases could be prevented before about age 90. So what he's saying is that we could rust out and not wear out, or wear out and not rust out. He's telling us that these are not diseases of age, but these are diseases of lifestyle. I want to talk about this a minute because the first 100 pages of this book are quite interesting. He turns on and off cancer, and this is what got me. When I read this book, I made the correlation with my diet because I thought I was eating pretty well. I've been an Adventist my whole life. I haven't eaten unclean food. I've never drank a cup of coffee. Drank a cup of coffee. We'll get to that part. But one of the things he says here is that the protein itself is a carcinogen. So what he did was he took some rats and he induced them with cancer using aflatoxin. It's a mold found on peanuts. So these poor rats were given this mold and they developed cancer in their liver. And he put one group of the rats on a diet that was high protein and another group of rats on a diet that was low protein, and this is what he found. He found the rats on the 20% protein diet, every single one of them developed tumor cells and died. But the rats on the low protein diet, they all survived. They were fluffy, they were happy, they were running around. Now, the protein that he used was casein. And how many of you know what casein comes from? Anybody? Milk. It is a milk protein. It is a dairy protein. So he found a direct correlation with a high dairy protein diet. And what are we consuming in our country today? Yes. High-fat diets have been associated with an increase in the risk of cancer. And what are we feeding our kids? We're seeing an obesogenic environment. And there are many social determinants for weight gain and obesity. One of the things I've learned in having a serious chronic disease was that people make choices for various reasons. It's not just because they're fat and lazy. That's a myth. That's not why people are often overweight or struggling with their health. There's other issues involved. There's emotional issues. There's things going on in our families. There was certainly things going on in my family that we don't see, that are happening even in our churches. So people are making choices because of many different reasons. Not only that, we live in a culture that promotes this type of lifestyle. And I have to say, is it their fault? It's not their fault. They didn't buy those foods, did they? Our kids are getting high-fat foods, they're getting fried foods, they're getting processed foods, and then they're having a sedentary lifestyle. And all of these things are contributing to the morbidity and the disease processes that we're seeing today. Campbell, T. Colin Campbell, China study, he says, our kids are falling prey to a form of diabetes that used to be seen only in adults. And children are taking more prescription drugs today than ever before. And they also say our children will have a shorter lifespan than their parents. And that's why this message is so important, that we get it into our frontal lobes, that we really assimilate what it means, because we have to be the ones to affect social change in our churches and in our communities. This is an interesting quote because it was written so very long ago, turn of the century. The human family have brought upon themselves diseases of various forms by their what? Own wrong habits. They have not studied how to live healthfully, and their transgression of the laws of their being has produced a deplorable state of things, and the people have seldom accredited their sufferings to the true cause, their own wrong course of action. I always ask people, how much morality do you think is in a donut and a cup of coffee? I mean, really, if you have that donut and cup of coffee for breakfast, and by 10 o'clock you are impatient and shrieking at your children and kicking the dog, how much morality is in that donut and cup of coffee? Leave the drugs and the chemist's pots if you can cure your patients with food, Hippocrates. And of course we know it says in the Word of God, whether therefore you eat, whether therefore you drink, do all to the glory of God. So we know, we should know, that the cure for many of these things are basic. Getting back to the garden, nuts and seeds, fruits and vegetables, incorporating exercise, physical activity into our lifestyle. God's original diet. I mean, we want to get used to it here, right? Do you want to get used to this diet here? Yes, we do. And the Lord God will take away from thee all sicknesses, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon thee. It was very interesting. I went to San Francisco, and they had the Tutankhamun exhibit there. And do you know these mummies? Many of them, they open up, and you know what they find? Gout, diabetes, all kinds of chronic diseases. These people had affluent lifestyles. and they had very poor diets. They were probably eating heavy, heavy animal food diets. So God was taking his children back to the garden, and he promised them that I will take away from thee all sicknesses. And we need this message no more, no less than today, right? Vine, fruits, nuts, grains, seeds, fruits, a beautiful rainbow of foods. Now, I have this little Fido wheel because this is what I use with my kids when I teach my classes. I've developed the Eat More Rainbow programs for children, and just to teach kids about their body, because many of us don't even know how our body works. We don't know how the systems God has created all work together. And so we like to teach children that the colors themselves have benefits in and of themselves. So for instance, red is what? Good for the heart. Purple helps you not to age. Blue, it destroys free radicals and helps your memory. Green, they always say the greener, the more bitter, the more cleansing and a powerful natural cleaner of your cells. Yellow helps your eyes and digestion, and orange prevents cancer and supports a healthy immune system. So it's really important we tell our kids, eat at least 5 colors every single day. Interestingly, scientists take the whole foods and they test them against some of the worst free radicals to see which foods mop up those age-robbing cells, destroying radicals, and rate them. The number is called the ORAC value, the oxygen radical absorption capacity. And you can see up on there, the deeper the red, the higher they are on this ORAC scale. So for instance, you see those grapes, you see pomegranates. They say pomegranates actually have 300 times more antioxidants than red wine. There you go. And small red beans, wild blueberries. I was at a vegetarian food conference in Loma Linda, and one of the professors there said that the blueberries, the blue in the blueberries, can actually help and arrest and prevent dementia. Very interesting study. So you can see the colors God put there for a reason. They protect the plant, but when we eat them, we assimilate the benefits and they protect us. I wanted to put this in here because you hear a lot of this nowadays, and that is dealing with acid-alkaline. How many of you have heard something, a little bit of that? Okay, so let me just review kind of briefly. I'm just touching on this today because I think it's important. Certain foods can significantly help to improve health, and other foods can accelerate the disease process. One of the most exciting nutritional discoveries concerns the effects that different foods have on the body's pH levels once they are consumed. Simply put, some foods, once they are metabolized, create an acidic effect within the body, while others act as alkalinizing agents that can neutralize harmful acid. To be healthy, it is necessary to be in a state of acid-alkaline balance. And let me just clarify, our blood is a little bit alkaline. It will always be a little bit alkaline or we would die. So it's a little bit, it's about 7.4, 7.5. But there are foods that really push us up on the acidic scale. So the more acid you are, the more likely you are to get sick. So you really want to keep your body alkaline. So let's take a look at that. These are some acid-forming foods. These are things you want to avoid. Sugar. Sugar is way up high. Donuts. Donuts. I think I've seen those a little bit around here, maybe a little bit. Donuts, any high-protein diets, things of this nature, these things are going to be acid-forming foods. These are also cancer-forming foods because cancer likes to grow in that type of environment. Our alkaline foods, these will be foods that God has provided in the garden. And so look at those foods. You can see from low alkaline to moderate and highly alkaline foods. And you'll notice there the greens. So this beautiful kale, I love kale. How many of you eaten any kale this week at all? Awesome. I love kale. So the greener they are, the more healthy they are going to be for you and the more alkalinizing. So let's just understand this. Our blood is always alkaline. So if we eat something that's acidic and it raises the acid in our blood, what does our body do? It wants to create homeostasis, so it's going to rob calcium to do that. And it usually robs it from our bones. So we're depleting, and that high calcium is going to create kidney stones and things of that nature. So we can have acidosis on a cellular level in our cells, and that's where you want to really be concerned, because on a cellular level, that's when you can start having those issues, sickness and things of that nature, the diseases, inflammation. This is very interesting, and this is called the 7 channels of detoxification. The blood must be pure. When I think of Jesus Christ, what does he do? It says he purifies us through the blood of the Lamb. Well, God has set in motion something within our body to help keep our body pure as well. And the blood is a current of life. So as we have pure, clean blood, perfect, invigorating circulation yields health, but impure, clogged blood, imperfect, inactive circulation yields disease. And it says in Leviticus, the life is in the blood. But look what God did. What's his perfect number? 7, right? So God, in his great wisdom, has given us 7 channels of detoxification for our blood. And they are the blood, the colon, the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, the skin, and the lymph. And all of these things have ways of filtering, processing the blood to keep it pure. And so God designed that these organs shall work together in perfect harmony. That's from Ministry of Healing. And so when we talk about healing, what we're really talking about is we want to assist the body in its own healing. And we do that by promoting health within our body, by eating the right things, by applying natural remedies. Now, I want to go through each of these organ systems because you'd be surprised. You may not know as much about them as you think. Skin, perspiration transports waste and toxins out through the pores. And sweating skin actually disposes of more waste than the kidneys and the colon combined. So I want to ask you, how many of you sweated this week? Go for a brisk walk and sweat. Get into a sauna. The lymphatic system transports waste and toxins from the cells and the circulatory system to organs of elimination. And you know, the lymphatic system does not have its own pump, so we have to move, right? Or jump. Many people get on those little mini trampolines and they jump, and that helps to move the lymph around and to purify the body of the waste and toxins in the lymph. Blood. The circulation of the blood is crucial in taking toxins out of the body by transporting them to other organs of elimination. Bowels dispose of toxins from the digestive system and the liver. Kidneys filter more than 200 quarts of blood each day. From the kidneys, waste products and water filter to the bladder and released as urine. Liver. The liver chemically converts destructive toxins into less harmful substances that the colon and kidneys can eliminate. 2 1/2 pints of blood flow through the liver each minute. And I want to pause here because something I do which really helps to detoxify the liver is a coffee enema. How many of you have ever heard of coffee enema? I know this is kind of scary, but I'm going to mention it here because it is part of my healing protocol that I do stay on in addition to the juicing and the other things that I do. And one of the things that one of the practitioners out there in the Gerson therapy uses is a coffee enema. And let me just explain that a little bit to you. You know that old grandmother remedy of an enema. Well, if you use coffee, coffee can stimulate the liver and it releases toxicities down the bile duct and it's carried out of the body. So it's a mechanism to help support liver health. It's not for elimination as much as it is for liver detoxification. So a person with cancer, usually they have a lot of accumulation of waste and their body is on overload. One of the ways that you can assist in recovery is by stimulating the liver to release the toxins down the bile duct and get them out of the body. So that's one of the therapies that you can use is the coffee enema. Lungs. Your lungs dispatch toxin and exhalations. Deep breathing increases lymphatic flow for further toxin disposal. The lungs purify the blood. So important for us to breathe fresh air. This is an interesting quote. Educate, educate, educate. The only hope of better things is in the education of the people in right principles. Let physicians teach the people that restorative power is not in drugs, but in nature. Disease is an effort. We should say this together. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. There are laws, like if I throw this up, it's going to come down. So there are laws to our body that God has implemented, and if we violate those laws, we will have consequences. Cause and effect relationship. In the case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained, unhealthful conditions should be changed, and wrong habits corrected. Nature is to be assisted in her effort to expel impurities. This is kind of like saying toxicity. Nature is to be assisted in her effort to, modern day vernacular, expel toxicity and reestablish right conditions in the system. And that's what we should be doing. We should be educators, we should be living this ourselves, and also helping people that are sick to learn how to help their bodies and promote health. So we know the 8 laws of health, which are nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, divine power, hygiene, and attitude. It's a wonderful formula. There's not one of these that you can take out and not feel the effect that God has given us these free doctors to maintain and support our health. And I really do try to live them and apply them because I want to live. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful that God has sustained my life. This is interesting. Disease, when you look at the definition of disease in Webster's dictionary, disease is a disordered or abnormal condition of an organ or other part of the organism resulting from the effect of genetic or developmental errors. Infection, but look at this. It says nutritional deficiency and toxicity, or unfavorable environmental factors, illness and sickness. But really get a look at that, nutritional deficiency and toxicity. And isn't that what we're seeing today? We're living in kind of a toxic soup, and we're nutritionally deficient for many reasons because we're eating very devitalized food, processed food. The root cause of all disease, could it be toxicity? It's the simple truth that we are living in a sea of toxins, and it is destroying our bodies and brains. When you think of all the pesticides that are used each year, what our food is grown on, our external metabolism, it's not the same as when God created it, full of life-giving organisms and minerals. We don't have that type of dirt and what our food is grown on. And according to the nonprofit organization Environmental Working Group, believe it or not, the average newborn baby is born with 287 known toxins in their umbilical cord blood. Isn't that shocking? Of the 84,000 chemicals on the market today, many of which are objects that people come into contact with every day, only about 1% of them have been studied for safety. So these things we're coming in contact every day, and you know where they go. They're stored right in our bodies, and they accumulate over time, and that's why we're seeing many disorders and diseases such as fibromyalgia, which is nothing more than an excess of toxicity within our body. So again, we look at that definition of disease, which is toxicity and deficiency. And Dr. Max Gerson, he was a turn-of-the-century doctor who actually cured end-stage cancer patients. And he directed his therapies to these 2 common understood reasons for cancer, toxicity and deficiency. So what he said was, if I can just get nutrient-dense food and juice into my patients, and then while I do that, do modalities like you see there to rid them of the toxicity, they will heal. And that is what happened with his patients. Many of them did heal. So he used steam baths, he used juicing, he used colon therapy and enemas. And so when we think of cleansing and detoxification and regeneration with live nutrition, we're looking at better digestion. I know one of the things that I noticed right away when I changed my diet to more living and raw foods was that my skin cleared up and that I had really excellent digestion and assimilation of my food. You have clean blood, you have improved circulation, you have more energy. I am up so early in the morning. Just ask the people I'm staying with right now. They will tell you. I have boundless energy, clear mind, weight loss, stronger immune systems. Like I said, your skin improves and your overall mental attitude. And I just want to put Marianne on the spot. Marianne just did a 10-day juice fast. And one of the things you said was about your attitude, your emotions. It is a huge blessing. Yes, we can do that.
Thank you. I just did a 10-day juice cleanse, as Charmaine mentioned, and nearing the end of the 10 days, I noticed that a lot of my, if not all of my depression and anxiety have gone away, and I felt like I've had a lot more energy. And, you know, like what you put in, that's what you're gonna get out. If you put unhealthy, toxic, bad stuff in your body, that's what you're going to get out of it. And if you're going to put good and healthy, clean and vitalizing things in your body, that's what you're going to get out of it. So it was a very huge blessing.
It was, and she did a really phenomenal job. We are so proud of her. So I want to talk about detox, and that's what I'm going to show you today, because it's a way that we cleanse the body of toxicity as well as pumping it full of nutrient-dense food. And we are going to make some juice today. But before I do that, I wanted to bring up Lorinda's daughter. It's Alyssa? What is it? Elisa. Because I wanted to talk a little bit about what we do in our kids' class, because I think it's really important that we target our children. Because we have found, scientists have found, researchers, that if we expose the kids early to these plant-based foods, they will more than likely continue to consume them as they get older. Elisa is being my little model here. So one of the things I do with the kids is we wear this vest, and then they get to learn their body parts here. So, of course, she's got a good brain, right, Elisa? And then we've got lungs, and these things come off, and then the kids can remember where they go. And so it's really important. How many of you knew what your liver did? That it's the largest organ in the body, and it's for filtration, it's for cleansing and detoxification. Are you aware of this? Are you aware that it can also regenerate itself? It's the one organ that can. And then we have our stomach, and we have our large intestine, small intestine. And so when we talk about doing our enema, we're really focusing on the lower part of the large intestine. It's not like a colonic where you're flushing it out. So some people will think, oh, it's so unhealthful, you're killing natural flora. But really, we're only addressing the small end of it. So, and then you have some kidneys on the back, Elisa, so I'm going to have you turn around. You've got the little kidneys on the back. So this is what we teach our kids. And then the other thing is we use, my kids named this Mr. Bob, Mr. Bob, he's got parts here. He's got lungs. And, okay, let me test you guys. All right, this, what is this? Okay. Liver. And it is, by the way, on which side of your body? Do you know where it is? Can you find it? It's on your right side. Then we have our stomach. The stomach does not possess teeth. That's why we need to chew and masticate our food very properly. Then we have our intestines and our large intestine there. And behind this, we have our kidneys. There we go. So it's important to know how fearfully and wonderfully we are made, and that we have to put the right fuel. Thank you, dear. Do you want to help me with my juice demo, or do you want to flee to your mother? You'll help me? Great. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. If we're going to put the wrong fuel in our body, we're going to get the wrong outcomes. I wanted to show you my favorite books in all the universe, and Healing the Gerson Way. For those of you with family dealing with cancer, I know we have some of you in here, defeating cancer and other chronic diseases. There's no one special diet that we can target and just say, this is a cancer diet, this is a heart disease diet, this is a diabetes diet. It's really one inclusive diet, isn't it? Because as we heal the body, kind of everything gets well. We reset the thermostat. So in a sense, when we get back to what God wants us to, everything kind of starts falling off that needs to fall off, including weight. So we normalize our weight and we start to get healthy. Then the other book, of course, is the China Study. This is an updated version of that. This is a pretty easy read. I would encourage you, by all means. There's a really great chapter in here. It's on autoimmune disorders, MS. It's got even type 1 diabetes for children. He talks about how casein destroys a young child's pancreas in about 5 years, and they become type 1 diabetics. You know, they tell you in WIC, Women's Infant and Children. Do you have that in Washington? Okay. They encourage the mothers to go home when the babies are still babies and to consume whole milk. Well, their little digestive systems aren't ready for that, and as those things, the milk protein slips through the intestinal lining into the blood is going to make that immune response. And when it does that, it looks like the human cells of the pancreas. So it will also self-attack the pancreas. It's called molecular mimicry. And so in essence, these children are really poisoned to attack their own pancreas. Lifetime diabetics. So we're going to make some juice. And I'm going to talk about a few of these things. Obviously, I showed you this is our beautiful kale. This is the granddaddy of all greens right here. This you should be eating frequently. I would say every day if you can. We have some beautiful beets, and we can use everything on here. They're beautiful. And these were just so beautiful. I'm like really amazed at God's creation here and his colors. I can't help myself. Aren't these beautiful? These colors of these carrots. So we're going to use those. Yes, you can take that off now. All right, and I have some ginger. This is an excellent anti-inflammatory right here, ginger. How many of you are using ginger? I had a lady on this about a month ago, and bad fibromyalgia pain. She had pain through her body. Just in 2 days, the woman lost 6 pounds doing juice. She wasn't even fasting, and her pain completely subsided. Coffee enema, also excellent for pain. We've got pineapple here, which is good for digestion. I just learned cucumber, really good internally for boosting collagen for your skin. And I'm staying with a gal that when she's cooking, she makes natural skin products. So it might not be surprising to see her cooking something and then slapping it on her skin at the same time and licking it. I want to tell you something. This is kind of a good visual. I like to use this little cutting board. What is really obvious about this cutting board? What was that? It is bamboo. Okay. What other obvious characteristic? Lorenda. different colors. It is different colors. And why do you think so? Why do you think so? Oh, come on. You guys have good thinking caps, some good gray matter out there. Why? Different molecules? A little bit. It's old. Okay, I'll help you out. Okay, actually one is heat treated and the other isn't. And the reason I show you this is because when you heat treat something, it changes its conformational structure, okay? So for instance, they can take some Kirlian photography and look at the plant cells of this cucumber, and you know what they see? Halos of light, electrical energy. Because God created us as electrical beings, He put energy in the food. And when we eat it, we assimilate those benefits. Do you understand? So we're missing a whole lot of something when we cook it. It was never intended to be that way. Now, I'm not telling you all to go home and be raw foodists by any stretch. I'm not a raw foodist. However, it is really important that we consume raw food regularly, because if we don't, we're just missing a lot. And probably we don't even know what we're missing. So one way to do it is juicing. It's pretty easy. And I have this, wow, this is a bad boy. This thing, it is so loud and so mean. I hope it doesn't scare you. So you're going to help me, all right? All right, so we're going to make some juice, and then we're going to let you try it. Oh, my little cups. Okay, there they are. I will not make it too harsh, okay? Sometimes my juice can be really harsh. I used some red purple cabbage in one the other day. Whew, that was hard to get down, but we won't do that to you guys today. But again, the more bitter the green, the more cleansing it's going to be to your liver. So I am going to put a leaf or two of kale in there, and we'll put some beet in there. Remember what our red was good for on our phyto wheel? What was that? Our heart. We will talk later, Bob. You need an intensive class, right? You need a retreat. Okay, we're going to take our juicer. Now, I've used a lot of different juicers, a lot of different grades of juicers. I use the Norwalk. That thing is like $2,000. It presses the juice. There's centrifugal ones, there's masticating ones, and all of it is a big, huge rigmarole. It is just way too hard to use, way too hard to take apart and clean, and it's not user-friendly and practical. So I'm really going to show you what I think is the top-of-the-line, user-friendly, and affordable. And this is a Breville. You guys have heard of, what's his name? Joe, what's his name? Yeah, Sick, Fat, and Nearly Dead. Okay, he used the Breville when he went on a 60-day juice fast. And so this one has a chrome basket. It comes apart really easy, and I'm just going to do it real quick to show you guys. And this thing spins around, and the juice comes through here. Now, I like this one because of the chrome. I would recommend it. It's not that more than the one with the plastic, and it really works well. It's very, very sturdy. Okay, this is super loud, but we're going to make some juice. And as you understand, juicing is different from blending in that we are really getting the blood out of the plant blood, and we're getting rid of the fiber. And the reason for that, people say, well, why wouldn't you want to eat the whole thing? I could not possibly eat all of this that you see here, right? I couldn't eat a whole beet and all these carrots and ginger and kale, but we can get the nutrition out of it by juicing it, okay? So it's different than making a smoothie, all right? And when you're talking about nutritionally deficient cancer patients that are really deficient, the best way to get nutrition in them is to juice. And they often have them on 13 juices a day, which is about every hour they're drinking 8 ounces of juice. So we're going to do, cucumbers are wonderful and they're very mild. So you want to come down here, honey? Help me? All right, I'm going to turn this on really loud. I'm just preparing you. Okay, I'll let you put that in. All right, how about some apples? just start throwing stuff in. Job. Okay. All right, I think we need some pineapple. I think I really want to put some pineapple. Did we stick ginger in there? Did anybody see that? No, not yet? Okay. Let me go. You haven't had a pineapple until you've been in a tropical country. They're nothing like what we get. So we're going to put some pineapple in there. And you know what? When you eat a pineapple, if you have the core, don't throw it out because they're perfect for juicing. Just save that, wrap it up. You can freeze it. So I'm going to have you do that. Okay, let's add that pineapple. Ah! Needed that apron. All right, we'll put one more cucumber in. Yeah, that's actually cucumber. I'll have you put in half. All right. Okay. Thank you. You guys are watching. Good job. You guys like ginger? It's kind of spicy. Lots of ginger? Okay, lots of ginger. All right, we'll do lots. All right. All right, I'll have you stick that ginger in. This actually has two speeds. It has a fast one that you hear, and it has a next one. There. Well, that looks positively luscious. Are you going to be brave, Alyssa? Putting her on the spot now, huh? Want to take some to your mommy? All right. Who will be the guinea pigs? Can I have somebody help me to get this out? Now, I do this every day, and I do it several times a day because I want to live. That's my plan. You want to try some first, Justin?
Absolutely.
All right.
I will take the dip here.
Take the tip. What do you think?
Delicious. Delicious. That
Yay.
ginger, that's a nice kick.
You like that?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have you pass some of the out. Don't everybody jump up. Olivia, can you help me a little bit? And Alyssa, can you take a couple out to people? All right. There you go. Thank you. I should have saved that tray. There you go. All right, so gastronomy. This is where you really hold it in your mouth and enjoy the sensation of this. This is pure life. And no donuts. This man has issues. No more donuts. Actually, in our Sabbath school class, I was very proud. Instead of donuts, I noticed fruit the last Sabbath.
Well, you weren't here today. We had sticky buns.
You had sticky buns in class? I'm shocked. I have promised Linwood I am not the food police. I'm not the food police here, guys, so you don't have to worry. You can vote me in your membership. I'm not the food police. Here you go. Okay. It probably has too much ginger for some of you. Ginger is quite strong and spicy. Did everybody get one? No? Okay.
Anybody hasn't got one, raise their hand.
I am. Yeah. Okay, I think there's still some people. Oh.
Well, maybe about 8 now.
Okay, can you take, yes, I can make some more. Mm-hmm. I hear some moans out there. Okay. All right, how are we doing? Did everybody get one? All right. Huh? Marion, did you get one, Derek? I'm sorry. All right, everybody has one, right? Okay. Did you get one, Sven? Aren't you going to be brave? Okay. I'm all out of cups. I'm sorry. Here. If they don't mind your germs. Thank you, sweetie pie. Well, I'll make some for you that'll be just pineapple or something good. Okay? You can go back to your mom now. All right, I wanted to open it up to questions. If any of you, I ran out of, oh, okay, thank you. Well, then I'm just going to have to make some more.
I'll start off with a question. How often should you juice?
Every day.
Every day?
Definitely.
Okay.
I usually make a big thing of it. That way I'm busy, so I don't have to keep doing this all day long. Of course, if your juice sits more than 10 to 15 minutes, you start to lose the nutrients and the enzymes start to break down. But even at that, you're still getting a lot of nutrition in it. One of the things that you can do is get vacuum sealed containers, and those are available like at Bed Bath & Beyond or online. And you can just take the air out, and it helps to prevent the oxidation of the juice. Here you go. Any other questions? So this is my daily thing. This is what I do. I mean, cancer, especially the kind I had, was a double negative ductal carcinoma in situ. And that type of cancer, poor prognosis. Many times they see after 5 years that it comes back in the blood or in the bones, in different organs of the body, in the brain. So this is something that I do on a regular basis. And is this a cure-all? No, it's not.
It helps.
Cancer is very aggressive. The Gerson therapy, when a person years ago would go down to the Gerson clinic in Mexico, they would give them a year to be on the Gerson protocol, which is 13 juices a day, 5 enemas a day. Certain special foods and solutions that they have to take. Now they tell them you have to stay on the program for 2 years. And the reason being is that cancer is becoming more and more progressively aggressive. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just giving you my experience. I used to be so full of anxiety about my cancer reoccurring. I waited 13 years to go back and have a mammogram and get checked out. That's how nervous I was. But when you've had cancer, any little thing that goes wrong, you feel like, oh no, it's come back. And finally, I went, and praise God, they could not find any trace of cancer. I had a dear saint come up to me, and she said, Charmaine, because she knew I was so anxious about it, she said, the Lord has numbered our days, and we can't go around worrying about whether we're going to live or die, because we're all terminal, right? Unless Jesus comes and we're translated. And she said, the Lord has numbered your days. And when she told me that, I just had a real sense of peace that, no, I don't need to worry about it. I just need to live each day because God has given it to me.
So I have a question about the sugar in refined sugars compared to the sugar in fruits and
well, they
vegetables
say
and such.
even the sugar in fruit, if you have cancer, you should cut back even with that, because the fruit and the fruit sugar also creates that acidic environment. So they encourage you to limit your fruit as well, at least for 6 months.
And how would you remove the sugar from that?
Well, you'd have to stop eating as much fruit, you know. So if a person is making the juice, you're not going to be using all the apples and the pineapples. You're going to be using more of your greens, even less carrots, just more of a green juice. And maybe green apples, which are less sweet than a red apple.
Okay.
My beautiful book. For those of you that are coming to the demo tomorrow, which I'm making some really amazing dishes. You want to hear them?
No, save it. They're good.
You don't want to hear what I'm making? I'm going to tantalize them. I'm making a white bean stuffed shell. I have some gluten. This is gluten-free options too. I'm doing a stuffed portobello mushroom, and I'm doing it's a hummus with the portobello mushrooms is stuffed with an avocado chimichurri. It's like something that would usually typically accompany like a steak. And I'm going to make a hummus with bruschetta with a heirloom tomato kind of arugula salad on that. And we're having a pumpkin cheesecake. It's raw. I think there's something else. I don't remember. But anyway, the food is going to be really good. I hope you all can make it tomorrow and that you bring some friends with you because we will have samples.
2 or 3 questions. Is there any reason not to throw the rest of the pineapple in the juicer to get the juice out of the skin that you cut off?
This rough stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Just that I really want to prolong the life of that screen.
Okay.
And if something is too fibrous like that,
Right.
it would really probably... I've burnt through a screen before and had to order a new one. So, nah, I don't need to do that. But I guess you could.
You use the...
But this doesn't have any juice in it.
Right.
So,
What about, I understand lemon juice is the best thing for alkalizing the body.
lemon is a wonderful alkalinizer. It's one of the
And-
best, and I use it every day. This is my regimen. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay. So every day I get up and I drink my lemon water, which is usually a quart, and I squeeze the juice of 1 lemon into my lemon water. I like it kind of warm. It's a good flush. My roommates will see me walking out on the lawn barefoot, drinking my water or my juice. So I make juice, a coffee enema, and exercise. Those are just like brushing my teeth I do every day for my protocol cancer maintenance program.
The coffee enema, do you use decaf?
No. The reason we don't use decaf is because you need the caffeine to stimulate the liver, to release the toxins. It actually shakes, it quivers, dumps the toxins down the bile duct, so you really need the caffeine.
And it's not the same thing as
You
drinking
don't need
the
like a
coffee.
French roast or anything flavored.
Just go for the cheap stuff, right?
Just regular dark roast will do.
Ask that last question, Chuck, again. I don't think she heard that.
What?
About, it's not going to do the same effect as drinking.
Oh,
Yeah, it is different from drinking. You're only holding it about 12 to 15 minutes. I know some of it does get in the blood. Maybe that's why I run around so much. But it's not the same as drinking it. It's more of a nervous stimulant when we drink it, but however, you're not holding it long enough to really assimilate it into the blood, then you're releasing it. Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a question.
Mhm.
Do you know where the pancreas is at?
I didn't hear her.
Where the pancreas is at? Your pancreas, where is it?
Oh, it's on the other side from the liver. And I think our little guy has it back here, back in there, but is it on our, no, we don't have it. I don't have one to show you, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can you shed some light on the walking barefoot on the ground?
Oh, yes. You'll have to get my little kids' book. I talk all about it. They have found that, well, we weren't born with shoes on, were we? God created us barefoot, didn't he? The earth has neutral energy, and when we walk on it barefoot, it neutralizes. It's like ground. Think of it like this. When you ground your house, what does it do for the wires going through your house? It reduces the static. So it's the same in our bodies. So they believe it's highly effective for decreasing inflammation. People claim, I've read research-based studies in peer-reviewed journals where it's actually benefits by improved sleep and many other benefits to it. So it's not just a old wives' tale. I haven't dealt with that one yet. I guess I will next week.
Next week.
Probably. Mm-hmm. Yes, Natasha.
After you make your fresh juice, for how long does it keep its properties? Like how many hours it's good, and then
It's just
like,
good for 10 to 15 minutes, really, to get the ultimate out of the juice.
So you
But-
can't make it for a whole day.
But
and-
yes, you can. As I said, I make it up ahead of time, and it's best if you made it up ahead of time to put it in like a vacuum-sealed container. But even at best, if you could drink it like this and preserve it in the refrigerator, you're still getting benefits from it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Recent studies I've read out of the Lancet about coffee
Mhm.
says it's one of the best antioxidants
It is.
you get, and caffeine is good for mental stimulation.
Mm.
Is there a downside to that?
Well, I'm kind of the old Adventist. I'm going to tell you that it is a stimulant. So, to the nervous system. And there's also research on that. So, they also say chocolate. Yeah, so, but I think we need to really consider, the other effects that aren't helpful. There are effects that aren't helpful, which would make it important to avoid that. I avoid them. Not that I never eat them, but they're highly refined. It's a concentrated food, and many of our soy crops are GMO'd, so I don't use a lot of it. But they say for women's health, the phytoestrogens in soy are very beneficial to help offset, like, perimenopausal symptoms.
I've heard too that it promotes breast cancer. I've heard.
Yeah. I heard both sides of the coin. I avoid it. I drink almond milk. I rarely use the soy.
Tofu.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. You avoid that too.
Yes,
Just
sir.
a quick question. Has there been any research done on the reversal of genetic mutations? There are bunches of them in every one of us. Some of them break through into actual, disease progression that you can see, and then there are other ones that are just dormant and laying there. They're actually damage to the DNA. Have they ever done any research to show that this reverses
Well, that's what he does. And this is what T. Colin Campbell talks about in the China study. He says diet trumps genetic mutations.
But have they,
We may have a genetic mutation, a predisposition. However, it doesn't necessarily have to turn on if we consume the right foods.
but have they actually documented the change in the genetic code?
Well, it's not going to change the genetic code.
Well, genes. The
I hear
damaged
you.
genes.
Yeah, I hear you. For instance, MTHFR, some of you might have known or heard of that, the genetic mutation that frustrates folate methylation, which we need to take in folate, which is important for the growth of the embryo and all kinds of things as far as our neurological health. It affects so many processes of our life, yet they can give you supplements, they can give you a methylated folate, but it's not going to change the mutation itself. And I wonder about that too, you know, because these things do play into our personalities and how we express ourselves and react. And, you know, I just think of Jesus who says in Psalm 103, he heals all of our diseases and he forgives all of our iniquities. So can God heal that? I believe God can do anything. So I think we have unlimited power and potential through Jesus Christ that we have in our message, that not only has he given us this, but he's also given us his power and his strength through Jesus Christ. So he raised the dead. So in answering that, yes, I believe. I haven't seen it in the research, but I believe. I'm standing here alive. I'm just thankful. By the way, I am MTHFR heterozygous, so I have a gene for being unable to methylate folate, which is problematic because there are issues such as cancer and homocysteine levels, so heart disease. So I just believe that God can do anything. That's my answer.
You said that you drink almond milk.
I do. Yeah, I think all those things are good if they're coming from a good source. I do. Yes, ma'am. That was asked me. Yeah, she said, how often do you juice? As I told you, I juice every day. This is like my protocol. This is my preventative program that I'm on.
But you don't get hungry?
Oh, you're misunderstanding. I do this in addition to eating. Yes. Yeah, I'm not just a juicer, and I'm not just a raw foodist. I eat lots of food. I love food. I love to feel it, look at it, and watch you eat it. I love it that much. Any other questions? That's it. I'm making roasted Brussels sprouts. Yeah, I picked them up yesterday. Yes, they're on the menu for tomorrow.
And then my question is, what do you think is a good source of protein?
Well, protein is in so many things, and people ask this question, and we look at a cow and an ape, and they're very muscly, a horse, and they're all vegetarian. So our plants, by weight, have, they have protein. So, yeah, I eat these things. I have plenty of protein and muscle mass. So, nuts and seeds, your vegetables, yeah, beans,
I
legumes.
think the myth that you talked about, the amount of protein that the world is telling us to eat, we don't need to eat that much.
So I was consuming, when I was diagnosed, probably 100 plus grams a day when we only need about 30, really. Well, I really was a privilege to be here today. Sir, did you have your hand up?
Yes.
When you went from your food budget before till after with doing all this juicing and vegetables and all this stuff,
Food budget.
how much you spent
Oh,
per day, per month?
Oh, I don't know, sir.
Do you think,
I don't know.
do you have a feeling, is it more expensive to...
Well, how much is being free from disease worth to you? How much do you spend on doctors, pills, Yeah. Lack of work because you're laid up home sick. I don't get colds or flus or, for the most part, every day is a real good day. I bounce out of bed. So that is worth a lot.
But you have to spend more time in the produce section of the
Sure
grocery
you do.
store because you have to go there more often because the stuff doesn't...
Yes, but I run in and run out because I'm full of energy. It is true, I do. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. That's a really good question, and my answer to you is no. Organic is preferable, but if you can't afford or get organic, then really, Dr. Hans Deal talks about that only about 3% of diseases are coming from the carcinogen or maybe the chemicals or agro-pesticides on the food. So it's relatively small compared to the animal protein diet, the fats and the meats and the cheeses, things like that. Yes, sir? That is a good question. Do you have to wash your vegetables? You know, there's a book out there that's called Eat Dirt. Eat Dirt. Have you heard of this phenomenon? And what the premise of the book is that back in the day, we used to pull things out of the ground with a little bit of dirt hanging onto it, and it was very beneficial to our bodies. And now everything is so sanitized and sterilized that we don't have good gut flora because of it. So your question, sir? Yeah, I would. I'd at least rinse it off, but yeah, I guess it would depend on where you got it, your source. It depends on where you're getting that fruit or vegetable, whether you wash it or not, quite honestly, because I walk out in the garden all the time and pick things and just stick it in my mouth and don't think about it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, we know the I'm just assuming that some of you probably know GMO, genetically modified organisms, and they've been genetically modified on a cellular level, and we really don't know with what. How are they modifying it, and how is that affecting us? And also organic, non-organic, we talked about the external metabolism of the earth, that it's depleted of minerals and many of the beneficial things, and so the organic is going to have more nutrition in it, okay? You know, working at a lifestyle center and seeing the people with diseases come through, they're just hungover, they're sallow. You can just tell by looking at somebody that they're nutritionally deficient and they're toxic. And when you start to get the toxicities out of them, and then you start giving them this several times a day, it's like pouring fertilizer on them. They just light up, you know? It's like a plant. Fertilizing a plant, it just starts to get life. So yes, eating things that are organic is going to give you more nutrition in your food.